Okay. Okay. All right. And just one moment while I make sure everyone who wants to get in can get in. And I might actually need to send an email so people are able to get in. I think most people have it. There have been just one or two people who are new. So I'm just making sure anyone who didn't join previously, but they want to join this last one, they're able to join. So just give me maybe 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll be able to get started. But I thank all of you for joining earlier. Okay, so I think I have this. Just going to send an email. CC to the join the discussion group. Let's see. Okay, and I'm also going to put in the phone number. Let's see. So people who are interested in dialing in, I know there's some audio issues sometimes, so I just want to make sure we also capture the dial-in. And again, this is something that we always recommend, having alternative ways of getting access. Okay. And I think this should be it. So I'm just sending out the meeting invitation now. I know there are a couple more people who had some questions who may want to join. I'm just going to make sure again. So I think we'll get started, and what will happen is so Pastor Harvey, there are a couple of examples. Oh, actually, we do have Evelyn Brown here, so I think we can still review some of those other use cases and lessons learned, because I think when we spoke to Frank Dove in the morning, I think he did mention Evelyn might be able to describe some of these activities. Okay. Evelyn, do you mind unmuting and do you want to share your experiences from this Easter's service and any lessons learned, and also any questions you have around some other options? I believe Pastor Harvey might have some interesting insights as well, but first just want to get a sense of what you were seeing.
Okay, sure. I can share. You mentioned someone named Dove, but I haven't spoken with him, so I don't know what that might be in reference to, but I can share with you what we did this Easter.
Okay, sure. Yes. And then for actually why don't we just do this? We'll do we'll do a round robin of feedback from Easter. And I think also with with the Dow trees, there are some other things related to what Frank Dove may have mentioned as well, and also Ernestine Mickens, and then with the we'll have Pastor Harvey go last because there are a couple of things I know he's done where it would be addressing maybe some of the items raised earlier this morning. So, but yes, Evelyn, I'll start with you. If you can just give a recap of your Easter service, describe any technology or any activities, or if you have a hybrid service, what that was like. And then if you have any questions, again, just your observations, feedback, and any areas for improvement.
Okay, sure, I can share. I am located in South Florida, and we're a medium-sized church, and we're using the Zoom platform right now for our services. We're not in person, return back to the sanctuary yet. We're planning to, and when we do, we plan to do a hybrid. So because we've now gained some new membership through the online services, so we want to stay in contact and keep those people connected even when we return to some form of in-person. So for Easter services, we just kept it very simple. I usually do a slide deck, like a PowerPoint slide deck, to follow along with some of the flow of the service. So like the announcements and any type of like with the songs, lyrics and things like that, we just, share those by PowerPoint. And then we actually live stream the Facebook for the pastor's message. So we don't do our whole entire service on Facebook. We just narrow it down just to his message and live stream just that component. And then for the music, we do a combination of our psalmists, our choir members from our choir, who will sing live over Zoom, because it's just one person. It comes through nice and clear versus trying to do a choir. And then we also augment that with just music from YouTube. So it's a kind of a multimedia kind of presentation for our Sunday services that we do every Sunday. And so we just did a little bit of like an expanded version of that, because sometimes we might include a video or some other kind of special feature. So that's basically what we did for Easter service. Mm-hmm. And we typically have about 100 people online viewing it through the Zoom. And then we have whole nother set of people who are viewing it on Facebook. So that's it.
Okay. All right, great. And then just a quick question about your Zoom. Is it set up for a separate webinar, or is it a personal room of a certain type? And if you don't know, that's okay. But just but just curious.
Okay, no, we don't do a webinar, and we do not use the personal room. We have it set up as a separate meeting.
Okay.
So each service is part of a recurring meeting, because in Zoom you can set up your meeting and then set it up as a recurring meeting, for the day and the time. And so we don't use the personal meeting room, because there are a lot of things you can't do in personal meeting room. And we don't have it as a webinar, because when you're in a webinar, the interaction is very limited to a degree. So the right mix for our services, when you're in a webinar, the interaction is very limited Zoom to a degree that we do. So the right and we have it set up as a recurring meeting in Zoom.
Okay. Okay, great. And then actually, there was a little thing with my audio. I accidentally clicked something where I was trying to share a link in the chat, and I unfortunately turned on a simulcast. So I would like you, if you can, to just repeat that last part where you were describing the difference between the different Zoom options and the reasoning behind which one you did. This is very important because it's something that's come up in the past with others. Even outside of this session, it's come up as something that's been confusing for some people, and we want to make sure that everyone understands the differences between those options, like the webinar versus personal room versus a separate meeting. So, because you gave a really great recap there, but I just want to make sure people hear it clearly without any distortion in the background. So thank you for repeating that.
Okay, sure. Okay, I was sharing that inside of Zoom, we do not use the personal meeting room for our services, and neither do we use the webinar. And the reason we use a regular Zoom meeting, which is kind of in the middle. So the personal meeting room is very limited as far as, not very limited, but limited as far as some of the features. So if someone is doing, if we're doing just like a quick one-on-one meeting, then, we'll use the personal meeting room. And, but like for a service is limited. So we don't use that. And then we don't use the webinar, for services, because the webinar also is limited as far as interaction. So we do use the webinar if we're doing like special events where we're just having like it's a one-way dialogue, and that works well with the webinar. But in the for a service where we have different people involved and people with different roles in the service, we use just a regular Zoom meeting, and we established it as a regular meeting with the waiting room feature for security. And then, so as people are joining, they go to the waiting room and we let them in. And then we set it up as a recurring meeting. That was the point I was going to make. So we have our Zoom meeting. We just set it up for the rest of the year because we don't know how much longer we're going to be in this mode. So we just set it up for the whole rest of the year, every week, same time, and that just makes everything easy. And so the members know that it's the same meeting ID, and all of that is the same for as long as we'll be in this mode. So that simplified it for them as well. So the phone number is the same, the meeting ID is the same for the rest of the year. So that's what we did.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And I'm really glad you were able to do that. I also, before we move on to the next person, I just need to double check and make sure Dr. Mitchell gets in because there was a comment in the chat. Oh yes, here she is. Oh no, that's not. She's not there. Hello. And I'm just going to pause for just one moment because I just need to send a message to one of the students to make sure she has access to the Meet information. Okay, and I believe this is it here. Let's see, hold on one moment. And did she join yet, or did, oh, okay, no, just got reorganized, okay. Meet link. Okay, so Okay, so now, so thank you again for going through. So now I would like Ernestine Mickens to please share your insights from your Easter service.
Good afternoon, everyone. Right. I'm in Somerville, South Carolina, at First Missionary Baptist Church. Reverend Adam Spencer is our pastor. The entire year, our church has been meeting via teleconference. And for our Easter service, we did the same thing. We have one, and they did. We did the same thing as a recurring meeting where we keep the same number and keep same dial-in information and passcode for entering. That has been consistent throughout the year. We haven't moved beyond the teleconferencing thus far, and we, like I explained before, the church has appointed me as the technology chair. We're trying to get started in a new avenue to members of our church. The church is a small church, and most of our membership are, I would say, members that are either in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, maybe beyond. And that's basically where we are right
now. Okay. Okay, great. And then, are there any issues you may have, or did you anything that you want to explore?
Yes. When the pastor established this committee, his goal was to start with using Zoom. And the first place that his idea was having it started was at the Sunday school classes, which they are being held on Saturdays at noon. And right now we're collecting data, doing some brainstorming, and figuring out where to move from here.
Okay. Okay, that's great. So thank you, and that's along the lines of what we were talking about today around planning. Yes. Okay, and then next, I would like to go to Gail Raxton. If you can share some of your insights from Easter service. Oh, and I can't hear you. You may have to unmute first here. And it should be a red button at the bottom left. Or actually, it's not red until you click on it. So at the bottom panel where it has the meeting, there it is. Yes, that's it.
Good evening, everyone. Since July 19th, my church has been face-to-face with social distancing, screening prior to entering the sanctuary, and we've also had Facebook streaming, as well as using Zoom for our meetings. We don't have Sunday school face-to-face, but we do have teleconferencing with the Sunday school classes. And then some of the teachers have tried Zoom with the young adults and teenagers. The little ones, they just don't cooperate with it. So they haven't had Sunday school, but they've been doing drive-throughs with various activities and handing out bags or packets during the drive-throughs. So thus far, it's been a combination, as I said, since July 19th.
Oh, wow. So you've been on the hybrid side.
Yes, but my husband and I, we're still home. We do everything via Zoom, teleconferencing. My husband teaches Sunday school through teleconferencing. He has the senior class, and the majority of the seniors do not have computers or access to any devices. So teleconferencing works right now. I don't know what will happen with Sunday school within this month. I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh, okay. Yes, and then getting compliance from younger students, that can be a challenge. So really, I have a lot of empathy for the parents with a lot of children who are at home, or people who are students, having to work with the students, because it can be challenging to get someone to pay attention in that manner. But thank you for sharing that. And then thank you, Dr. Mitchell, also for joining. I'm not sure if you let me know if your mic is available or not. If you,
my mic is available, but I'm getting two messages.
Oh, you can close the YouTube.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, because there's a delay. Oh, let me just make sure. Oh, she may have closed the full browser, so let me just make sure she comes back. Let's see, Google meeting again without the YouTube link. Okay, I'm just sending her a chat over YouTube just so she's able to join again. And just give me one more moment here. Okay, yes, and so okay, there you are. Great, thank you. Okay, and so right now what we were doing, we were just doing some reflections when it comes to this past Easter and Easter service. And so if you had any observations or anything you'd like to share or questions, feel free to let us know. And again, if you attended in person in a hybrid service, or if you were attending remotely on live stream, just let us know and then share some feedback. Oh, and then and so that was for Dr. Mitchell, or you can unmute unless you dial in also. Dr. Mitchell, are you able to unmute? Oh, there you are.
I did unmute.
Okay, and then right before you go, hold on one moment. We have someone who's joined on the phone. Okay, and so on the phone, to go on mute, you can press *6 to go on mute, or just mute normally, and then we'll unmute later. We'll have Dr. Mitchell go, and then we'll come to you next on the phone. Okay. Okay, so yes, Dr. Mitchell, please go ahead.
Okay, you wanted me to share the Easter service that I experienced?
Yes, that's right. And if you have any insights or observations in terms of how the flow went, if you were attending again from a hybrid service in person and also live stream, or if you attended on a live stream, just want to get your feedback from that experience. And if you have any questions or anything in terms of potential improvements, but just share your experience from Easter.
Okay. Well, I used Facebook to go into my service at Morning Star in Omaha, but we are nowhere where some of the other speakers have come from in terms of using the digital technology. We're not there, but I did attend the live stream service at Wheeler Avenue in Houston, and I was just amazed about how all of that worked and some of the things you've talked about. I saw it played out because I knew the behind the scenes info, because of what I've learned in this class. But other than that, that's all I have to say. But in terms of the many different things happening at the Wheeler service, the screens in the background, moving to the scripture, just all of that. And I know that's minor and trite, but my experience is minimal compared to the other callers.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for the feedback, and keep in mind it doesn't matter how much technology or how little is used. It's always about the message anyway. So there may be some other things we'll dive into during this call, where we'll show you some additional tools and tips and tricks. We did some. I posted the replay from this morning, and then I'm going to be distributing some links with additional instructions and there's just a lot of other training available from a lot of different other sources as well. So, but in terms of which things you might be able to use in the short term and how that might fit into service, I'm hoping we'll be able to share with you some things there. But and then I will thank you for mentioning Wheeler. I'll take a look and see if that's something I can add to the list of case studies as well. And this also goes for everyone else here. If you want to share the link for your church and your church's service, so I can add that to the case studies as well. Or if you saw services from another church and you want to add that to the list because they did some things you thought would be interesting, feel free to again send that information over to me, and I'll include that in the list. Yes. Okay, and now we have someone joined on the phone. I want to see if you can unmute yourself and introduce yourself again. If you muted yourself using *6, you can press *6 again to unmute, or if you mute it with just your regular phone device, please unmute and then introduce yourself so we know who's there, and then share your observations from Easter. And if you're on the phone, with the 412 area code, if you're able to, hopefully you're able to hear me here, so you can unmute. If you did unmute by pressing *6, oh, there you are. You're unmuted now. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I unmuted. I wasn't able to do the Easter presentation because I'm actually out of town, but I checked into the information that you emailed me. I'm physically not even home or anything, so I didn't get a chance to do the Easter event.
Okay, no problem. And then who? What's your name again? I just want to make sure who's on the phone versus who's.
Dean Gwendolyn Ware.
Oh, great. Okay, great. Thank you, Gwendolyn. Okay. All right, well, thanks. And if you have any other questions or any other things you want me to address, feel free to send a note or to fill out the form, and then we'll follow up. Because if you go back and you see something again, you may have some other questions, so feel free to do that.
There is a link that I can still go back and see what I missed.
Oh yes, actually, if you go to the Brushfire platform, I'll send another email to the whole class as well. But the same link within Brushfire in your confirmation email, if you click on the link from your confirmation email, it should take you to the page for this class with all the on-demand recordings that you've missed so far.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. Yes, and so now we have a few people who are from the same church. So I want to. I'm going to go to Jean Daughtry to see if you want to share your observations from Easter, and I will go to each one of you to share your observations because they may be different. Yep.
Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon. I'm from St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church in Sierra Vista, Arizona. We had almost a full church. We had 63 people, and we did our project camera like we always do. We went through Facebook, and that's how we showed everything for our whole service. Also, Easter service, we did Sunday school as usual, and we also did the main service. And it went quite well this time. Right? We stayed up longer than we usually do. Usually we drop. We have a lot of dropping issues, but we didn't do that this time. I think I might have said that this morning. This morning I wasn't able to be there online. Everything went quite well for Easter Sunday. We stayed up, and that was a big difference to us. So I don't know what happened, but I guess we'll be looking into that sometime this week.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks. That's great to get that feedback. And then and we'll go to Herbert Daughtry.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
As Jean said, things went very well this weekend as far as streaming is concerned. We still implementing the protocols at the door. Jean was involved in the screening, taking temperatures, make sure we have everyone's name on the attendance roster. From a technical standpoint, I'll say for now, abandoned the idea of using Wi-Fi. We started a hard wire between the computer downstairs that we're using for the service up to our router upstairs. I'm not sure if Frank went off of one of the switch ports on the router to the one gate switch we have up there, or extended a port from this router to that switch. I'll let him talk to that. I don't want to steal any of his thunder on that. But again, there's the phrase I coined before, when it's smooth as butter, did not drop at all. So the hard wiring made all the difference in the world as far as staying up online is concerned. Now, Frank did set up the overflow upstairs, and I'll let him talk to that. But from a technical standpoint and a performance standpoint, everything went as well as could be expected this past Sunday. Okay, great. Yeah, so thank you. And again, the hard wiring. So this is something I want to mention to anyone. If you have a machine, a computer or a laptop or anything you're using where you're also running software to do the connections or the streams and things like that, it is useful to be hardwired. So sometimes what we'll do is to share a network test just to see if you're getting the right level of performance. But because you will notice that your performance and the gigs that you pay for in terms of your connection to your internet service provider are that's what you get up to the point where there is a wired connection. Once you go wireless, the speed is a lot less, and in some cases, especially for some of the thank you for the comments. Yes. Yeah. So especially for things like video processing and uploads, you need to be mindful of not just the download speed, but the upload speed, because you're capturing images and videos, and those need to be uploaded to another site on the internet. And so even if you may experience really fast download speeds, sometimes your upload speed may be so slow that you end up having issues. There could be other things as well. Again, it may not necessarily all be your connection, but you can eliminate one point of failure with by level, not just a failure per se, but to instead of it being a single point of failure, it's more of a what we call maybe more like a choke point or a performance degradation point. So you can mitigate that by staying hardwired for things like that. If you are, and again, so in their case, they're using OBS software. It does require connectivity to upload from that software into the target destination. So in this case, it may be Facebook, or it could be something else. And that software supports multiple. So it's a little different if you're doing it where you have your machine versus if you're capturing and you're doing something on the cloud side, and then you have something that's optimized to receive information in the cloud, like StreamYard or something else, and then StreamYard has the processing power to upload to the other sites, and it controls that. So you have a few different options there, and also so we're going to go to Frank Dove, and then after Frank, we're going to go to Brian Harvey. And so just so Frank knows some of the things we discussed this morning,
Brian Harvey has some detailed configuration options to share that'll be useful, that might be able to address the overflow. But Frank, I'll hand it over to you now to discuss what's again, you mentioned some of it this morning, but for those who couldn't make it this morning, just again, recap your Easter service, and then again also the overflow room considerations.
Yes, we, like Dean said, we did do the service went well, but actually Dean and Herb, I actually defer to you for this morning. But we did like Herb said, we didn't do any drops. But what we do is we have the teleconference. The teleconference has been our mainstay from day one, even before the pandemic. Sunday school and in service are on the teleconference with the standard number, and that's been successful. From day one, the teleconference, and we run that at the same time. We run a live stream to Facebook. So we had to set. We started with just a telephone Facebook Live on a personal telephone live streaming, and put up one of those video blog stands on it, and just had it sitting up front at the pastor. And we was on that for months before we even went to putting a link on our website to get to the Facebook Live, and incorporating the people that weren't familiar with connecting to the live stream, make probably one-on-ones to them to get them involved with the live stream on Facebook, because majority of the people did have a Facebook account. And then we were able to, some of the people did not have the capability to go to Facebook, so they stayed on teleconference and until they were able to, some eventually upgraded to a phone that was able to do a Facebook Live stream. So, and then we went to a camera feeding for our live stream. We had a camera in there, and no more personal phone. Like Herb said, when we was experiencing dropouts, hey, the backup, we went right back to the camera, to the telephone, and did Facebook Live, just go live on there. That's the simplest method that we found to get up on live. Just use a phone on a stand, and just go Facebook Live with that and put it on the pastor or whoever's speaking up there. It wasn't the greatest, but it got people tuned in. So Easter service, we was able to connect the landline, like Herb said, and he had some statistics on that he looked at, and he told me, like, hey, we didn't have any drops, so or anything like that. But our overflow, I think from this morning we talked about that, but Pastor Harvey may have some insight for us to fix that issue there. We were not able to do the overflow, but we had to group people into their family groups or groups or social groups that they was having, and they had 6 feet in front of the group. Our church probably now with the camera, I said about 100 this morning, but with the camera set up back there in the back, that took away, probably 15 seats or so. So we're probably under 100 people that we could fit in the sanctuary. And we were up to like, I don't know, what was it, Gene? It was 60 something people we had at the service.
We had 63.
63 people at the service, and that was almost capacity, because I forgot about, we got the camera set up in the back, and and it's up on a stand where people can walk through, and the camera can be shooting over top of their head, and they can walk by and to be seated and stuff like that. But we do everybody's in masks except for the speakers, and sometimes the speakers we do a testimony of as part of our worship. We do a testimony service during devotion. And the way we do that is we wipe off the mic, and someone will bring the mic, take the mic up to the person, and that's so they can hear over the teleconference and hear on Facebook Live. But the people in the sanctuary are fine, but because we're broadcasting, we just take the mic to them and just sanitize, wipe the mic off between the speakers. Most speakers do not take off their masks, some do. And another thing that I thought Gene was going to report on was the fact that when we get a check, we do the temperature checks and screening before they come in. But we found out, was it that all of the adults in the sanctuary were vaccinated, at least with the first shot?
Yes. The pastor asked whether or not who had their first shots, and every adult in there had raised their hand. They all had their first shot. So we didn't have any person that did not have it. So we were doing good. We were doing good this month.
It's great.
And I would just like to say that because the pastor has been promoting safety throughout the pandemic, and we went down to the compliance levels of 10 and the 25 and established a comfort level, because the initial 10 people, 7 people, whatever we had to do the broadcast, we've been in the sanctuary live every week, twice a week, during that service. So we have what we call our own little bubble, and where and then if we were going out of town, so some of the protocols that we practiced was if we went out of town, we waited the 2 weeks prior to coming back to a live service, and that may be based on because of the numbers of people that were attending, we were able to control it. I mean, if you got hundreds and hundreds of people, it amplifies the amount of logistics you would have to go through to get the word out to everybody and everything. But we were able to promote safety from day one. And I think when Easter service came, and the protocols that was practiced all along was able to let us be comfortable in that environment, and get everybody comfortable, letting them know, putting out the information. Hey, we do, I think Herb has a sanitation team every Friday. We sanitize. We have a service. Somebody provides a service that sanitizes in the whole sanctuary every week. If we miss a week, it'd be every other week. But that's about it, Corey.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you for that feedback, because it shows, again, a lot of the things you have to put in place due to the pandemic, but also the simple things you can do, and then some of the challenges. And so now I want to go to Pastor Harvey. He has some insights. Again, Pastor, please share your findings from Easter, but also, please also share some of the things. Pastor Harvey was kind enough to send me a recap over email, where I saw most of those points were able to address some of the challenges encountered, particularly with overflow rooms and the logistics there. but also there may be other things you'd like to share. So I'm going to give it over to you now, Pastor Harvey, to give us your insights from this past Easter service.
Thank you. Good evening and good afternoon, still in our time zone. Our service, we have actually been having in-person services since October. And the setup that we had initially put in, which is the TVs that we have in the overflow, we've had this probably at least a couple of years before COVID. And what happened was there was a well-known person who passed away, and the funeral was held at the church. And we are about the same size as your church, Franklin, and we needed the extra room, and so that overflow came in to play, and we were able to have the additional people in the overflow to be able to view the homegoing service of the person that was prominent in the community, who happened to be a member of our church. So it was birthed out of that, of course. The Lord knows. So during the time of the pandemic, we were already set up for that. But what we do is the reason I was taking the classes because we don't live stream yet. And so we were going to look to add that to our services. And so for us, Easter, we did see probably 85% of our membership showed up on Easter. Of course, we've been socially distanced and all of that. We do sanitize every week, and we do wear masks. We have our women of worship. There's three ladies who do our praise and worship, and so they've been doing that since the start of the pandemic. So it's kind of like you said, we had the core team initially who have been doing the services. Before that, we would pre-record on Saturday, and then we would send it out on Sunday or on Saturday after we produce it. We'll go to the website, and then we also have the YouTube channel. So with the YouTube channel, of course, you can view it on the TV. And so we were doing that. And so what we do have the setup is we have actually 3 TVs in the sanctuary, 2 in the front and then 1 in the back, which the one in the back helps those in the pulpit, because before we had 2 and then we added the 3rd because the people that were in the pulpit couldn't really see the monitors. And so we added another one in the back of the sanctuary, so those that are in the pulpit as well as the choir can see the lyrics. And the way that we have that set up is we actually have the smart TVs, and they're set up through a wireless HDMI streamer we have to stream those to the TV. We have a receiver that sits on top of one, and then the transmitter is the HDMI, which we don't have any problems with that. Probably the distance is good from where we're set up, and we actually have those 2. And then the 3rd one, we actually have a balcony that the media team is at, and that's where the cameras are set up. The amp and all the things that we have for the audio and the video. So the 3rd TV is just hardwired straight into the streamer, and so they all monitor the same. And then the one in the overflow, that one is hardwired. We have a long HDMI cable, and then we have a screen booster so that we don't drop the signal in that. And so we have one camera that is designated to mirror what's going on in the sanctuary to the back. And so that has been working for us. for quite some time, even before COVID. And I think the most expensive things would be the TVs or the laptop. So the laptop is the input. Everything is streamed through the laptop. You could use PowerPoint or Google Slides. And you asked Brother Franklin about those screens where you can have some dynamic backdrops. You can use that with PowerPoint or Google Slides, depending on what you do. You can get the scriptures. So normally, my media person, I would send them the scripture of the sermon, and then they can put it on the PowerPoint slide or the Google slide, and then they can put that on the screen through the laptop. And so that has really worked for us. It's been a blessing. We had a tremendous Easter service. And so now we are in the process of doing the planning to see who are we going to reach or who are we trying to reach if we go live streaming. And so we're starting our process to see about how we're going to add the live streaming. And maybe that's why we don't have any problems, because we're not live streaming yet. But so far, we don't have any problems with dropping or anything like that.
Okay, and just to highlight again for the overflow, because what you're doing with the computer and the HDMI connection, that's applicable if you're streaming or not. It's still a way to make sure people are seeing what's in the sanctuary at the same time. And so one point you did make was that there's a separate dedicated camera in addition to the HDMI, the long cable going to the overflow room. And so this is maybe another way to simulcast. It's again, there are a couple of different options available. So it sounds like, one where you are doing the way you're doing it with that additional camera, it reduces any sort of lag someone might get if they are in an overflow room and you're doing the broadcast. So just in this session, I was communicating on, because right now what we're doing here, I'm using StreamYard to broadcast to YouTube, and it's there, but it's also mostly just an easy way to have it recorded and published on YouTube, so I don't have to upload the meeting recording, and so it just saves me some extra time. But by doing that, you would be able to experience a difference in time. So if someone happened to, and I think Dr. Mitchell might be able to attest to this because you were on both, you would see on YouTube, you would hear what's happening a few seconds after we are actually saying inside of the meeting. And so that is just the natural lag that you would have in terms of processing. And in order to, so let's say if you did have a case where you wanted to make sure it's exactly the same time without lag, then that's something you can do. If a little bit of lag is acceptable, and maybe it's just a matter of the maybe there might be some sound insulation or some things. Oh, okay. Thank you, Evelyn. And if you have any questions, feel free to to connect. Okay, and we'll send some emails. So thank you. And so when you're thinking about how you may be planning things from a building standpoint, one thing that Frank mentioned was the ability to hear what's happening in the overflow room in the sanctuary, and maybe vice versa. And so in those cases, you might consider some audio dampeners, or there's some things you could put on the wall sometimes to keep some of the sound from going back and forth. There's some other considerations there because even if you are live streaming and everything is perfect and you have it without lag, or if you were okay with the lag, that doesn't address the issue of still hearing what's going on in the overflow room in the sanctuary. And so to solve that problem, you will maybe need to do some planning from an audio standpoint. There's some there's some tools and resources, and even from like IKEA and some other places, you can order some of these sound dampening things to put on the wall that might help. But it may not be that; it might be something different. So in some cases, it may be a consultation with someone who's like an audio engineer, or someone with experience with what happens with acoustic architecture, and it may actually require some other type of consultation to make sure you're using a cost-effective manner of making things effective there. So I don't want to just maybe brush aside that piece of it because it is a consideration in terms of what's being heard and what's there and what's not there, and some of the approaches to make sure the sound isolation is is happening the way you want it. Some other options also include maybe having the audio come through speakers. So if you have a mic in the sanctuary, maybe there's some audio coming through speakers, I think below. But again, the issues around feedback or being able to hear things through the walls, that's a slightly different consideration. That's not really like purely a technology issue. That's a different type of media issue when you're looking at things holistically and looking at the architecture of your building. And it is definitely something you want to test out. Especially with again with the music or something where you may have some feedback where it may someone might hear something and come in on a song a little differently because they're hearing feedback. But I think Pastor Harvey was able to give a couple of pointers I'm also going to highlight when it comes to what type of software to use. So I mentioned earlier this morning some of the video processing software and things those are fairly expensive. I would say well, at least to me, I call them expensive. So Adobe Premiere is, again, it's top of the line. It's something that if you have people who are designers, like they have graphic design skills or video design skills in your congregation, then it might actually be a worthwhile investment. But if it's something where you don't have anyone specializing in that or someone who's interested in training to use it, then there are some other options available where you could still achieve some really good results. And something I didn't mention earlier, and I'm really glad Pastor Harvey mentioned it, is the ability to use slides. So I actually do this also with my job. There's some things where you can use other type of software, but if you want to do a diagram or some animations, you have the ability to do certain types of animations, especially the text animations, using Google Slides, or if you're using PowerPoint, you can do that. You can also embed videos from YouTube or someplace else in the slides. I have one slide I've been showing constantly with the Sunday School Publishing Board video embedded in it inside the slides. So you do have some other options where you can be creative just with tools you already have, because you don't necessarily have to buy something else. So especially if you don't have like a completely separate media ministry with this AV room and all this extra equipment, that it's really not necessarily a requirement to make all those extra purchases. So I will share links after class to some of the resources for Adobe and some of the other products. But it is important to mention that a lot of things you are able to do without any license. So again, like you don't need to even pay for a PowerPoint license because Google Slides, you're able to use that for free. So there, you don't really have a need to spend a lot just to get some of this functionality. And similar again to the scriptures, it is useful besides the lyrics to songs to have the scriptures also available, especially so people will see it in the version you're using. Because I may, and I also use like the Bible app, and there are some other tools I use as well. But when you can switch between versions, so we may be, but I have a default where I might be looking at like New King James Version by default, and then someone else is reading something in NIV. So even though if I'm using my app, I can switch, but for someone who wants to follow along with the reading, it is useful to have it written so they can follow along with you. Because if they aren't using an online Bible or something where they could easily switch between versions, the chances are they will be, if they're using a different version than yours, they aren't going to be following along exactly. So it's just a matter of the experience, but it's good to provide some of those options. So I want to thank all of you, and in terms of this feedback, but I want to just pause and see if anyone has any questions you want to raise, because for this part of the class, when we do the wrap up, I want to make sure any unanswered questions we address. Also, to let you know that I am willing to, again, with the proper approval, to set up another discussion group session for next week if something comes up that we haven't addressed, or if you want to schedule something one-on-one, again, within the next week or so. Just let me know. We want to accommodate that, because I know there's a lot going on right now in terms of challenges. It's great if you have time to go through all the content. It is important to actually, if you're attending the class, to click through everything available. I'll send out an email again during the wrap up, but just to make sure you click through all of the content that's available, because the attendance is also captured within Brushfire in terms of who's actually viewed what on the platform. But if it's again, you all are also very busy, and so it's great that you are attending the class, but it's possible that, especially if you join the class like maybe midway through, you may not have time to go through hours of recordings in order to get the insight that you need. So it's important for you before the class ends to meet your learning objective. And if that means it's best for you to schedule like a one-on-one so you get a couple of questions answered, or to exchange some emails or things like that, so that you get the proper recap in a shorter amount of time, we will definitely do that. So again, still encourage you to still go through everything, but what's important is that you're meeting your learning objective, and so I'll be able to schedule that with you. So I'm going to just pause now to see if there are any questions or things to highlight or things you want me to recap, or maybe some examples I can show. So feel free to either click the hand to raise your hand, or if you're on the phone, you can just unmute and just you can talk. Let us know that you want to speak, and then we can hear you and get your feedback, and then I can go accordingly. Oh, actually, I did notice, I didn't get a chance to ask Joyce for feedback from Easter. So since I didn't hear anyone immediately respond, Joyce, do you mind giving some feedback regarding service, the Easter service you experienced, and just describe again how that was set up and how you were attended, and if you were responsible for any part of it, if you have any areas for feedback or tips. But I definitely want to hear your experience from this past Easter service. So Joyce, if you can unmute yourself and share that with us.
Our service, excuse me, good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Our service was broadcast via Facebook Live. I'm here trying to learn, because we're a little bit behind, because we don't have the technical people in our church to do all of the fancy things. So with Facebook Live, we were able to broadcast. We were also able to do a teleconferencing using the free teleconferencing because a lot of our congregation is elderly and they like to dial in. We reached quite a few people, but we were also pleasantly surprised that a number of people did show up for our Easter services in the physical. Since we do have to try to get back to the new normal, that was a good thing. Other than that, it was service as usual with no hiccups.
Okay. All right, that's great. And then at your church, so you said mostly it's the free conference call and the free conference call and Facebook. And then, and out of curiosity, do you know if internally within your church, if you use anything like Google Meet or Zoom or WebEx or any of those services at all?
We have not used any of those services. In fact, this was a learning experience for me because I didn't even know that they existed. And I'm sure that a lot of our congregants don't know that either.
Okay, yes. And so in this case, I actually think what would be probably beneficial, especially if you're getting started, is if you consider going through the Google for Nonprofits avenue, because that will give you access to resources like Google Meet, but you also get a lot of additional training and other things that are available. You'll get access to a lot for free while you're still learning, and then I also recommend potentially using StreamYard. So that way you'll have an option. So you can still use the same free conference call, but you can use with Google Meet, there's a phone number you're also able to use and leverage. You will have the ability with StreamYard to stream simultaneously to Facebook and to your and to YouTube. And so the level of effort is minimal. I would say the main piece will just be getting through and redeeming it, and when you get set up. But even if you don't use Google for Nonprofits completely and those other pieces, you've already done the main things that are the key principles of this class, which would be to make sure there's a way for people to access the services if they are not on Facebook. So by having a conference calling number to connect will be important. And then if you are on Facebook, that's useful. But there are a lot of people who are not on Facebook. Some are not on Facebook due to the terms of service of Facebook. Others, I will need to make sure people are aware of some recent events in terms of Facebook. Just one moment here. Oops, sorry, one second here. I just need to share my screen properly. Okay, I'm just going to share a one tab. I'm not going into all of this completely, but recently there was another data breach at Facebook. So users, like people who've had their phone numbers, that information has been leaked online, and there are some safety and privacy considerations with the use of Facebook. So it's good in one way because it can give you access to information and you could share. But on the other side, you have to be very important. You have to be really careful about what's being shared and how it's being shared, and also respect the fact that some people may just simply not use Facebook at all because of some of the issues. So I'm just going to put this here. That's not an official link. It's going to a news site describing how to check if you are, if you might have been impacted. But it just keep in mind, pretty much, with Facebook, there are not just hackers, but there are other countries. There are a lot of people who want to get access to the information they have. Facebook sells a lot of information already, but for the things that are not being sold, there are other people who may try to do breaches and get access to the information. So just do a quick check. Just go through the privacy checkup on Facebook and just make sure you put things to private if they want to be private. So and if you are live streaming, be sure to do it from the page that's the main, what they call like a brand page or a separate page, not your personal page on Facebook. Again, there are just certain things from a safety standpoint we want to make sure you keep in mind, because with technology there's additional risk. So, and it's not just a new technology issue in general. Like with mail, with the post office, once we had a post office, the people were doing mail fraud. So once there's a new technology, there's somebody's going to figure out something to do there. So you just want to mitigate your risk and just be really mindful of that. AARP. Actually, is anybody here a member of AARP? First of all, otherwise I'll. Okay. Okay, great. Yes, I see some others raising their hand too. Yes. Okay, so that's great. AARP does a really good job producing content to make people aware of known issues or known breaches or known scams. So the Federal Communications Commission also tries to publish that. But if you're a member of AARP, be sure to check out their website and to subscribe to updates in your email so you get notifications about those. They do a very good job there. And then also for those of you who may be interested in additional resources to help train people who may not be as familiar with technology, AARP has a class to help people learn how to use a smartphone. So, and they have a lot of other things to help people to learn more. Again, some of the content may not necessarily be age specific, because there are a lot of people of different age groups who have different experiences with technology. And again, just remembering the internet was created by people who are, some are in their 70s today and maybe a little older. So, there are a lot of people who are older who are also familiar with technology, but they just may not be familiar with it in this current form. The AARP is something I really recommend. If you don't have to be a member to just go to their website and see some of the articles they've published, but if you are a member, again, if you're eligible to be a member, I forgot what the age cutoff is, but if you are a member, definitely take advantage of some of the resources they have. They do a really good job curating a list of items. Actually, let me just see if I can go to their site now to just show you an example of some of the things I'm talking about. Because we, let's see here, 1 second. Let's see, scam, yeah, ARP scam tracking. Okay, let me share this one. They have a lot of different tools, but I'm just going to share with you one that's actually interesting. They have a way of tracking and reporting scams. So again, they have a lot of scam reports, and then they have a map that's actually starting to show up here. Okay, well, I'm not clicking anything in the region, but basically, you have ways of getting access to some of the the Fraud Watch. They have these watchdog alerts, so you can sign up for these alerts to get you ahead of the scammers. And then again, there's something happening all the time, and it's not possible for you to read every news source and pay attention to every single thing. Like this recent Facebook one, it's really, and again, some of these scams are not just the Facebook ones. They have other types of scams. There's with tax day coming up, with the IRS. Oh, of course, yeah, here it is. First, I was wondering where the tax scam information is. They have some warnings, because again, the IRS doesn't call you. They have like fake calls. They have fake things in the email, in the mail. Coronavirus scams, stimulus check scams. My father ended up getting something in the mail where they were making it seem like it was official, and they wanted you to return, tear off this little portion and return it, and they will help you, reduce your rent or reduce this. But they have a lot of things on the mail side made it look like it was official, but it's not. Some may not be scams; it may just be misleading advertisements. So you have a lot of resources here with AARP to help with with the scams, but they also have information for technology training. And let's see if I can get to. I don't see the links here directly here. There should be one that's specifically for learning. Oh, here it is. Okay. So, this might just be the discounts though. Yeah, so I don't have the direct link here for the site, but basically for AARP, just keep in mind that there are, they are able to share some information, because if you might get something on Facebook to say, register if you have this scam, fill out this form, and unless you really inspect where that link is going, it may actually be collecting information about you to be sent someplace else. So you never know. So just be aware of which sites are trusted sites for a certain type of information. So make sure if you type in aarp.org yourself, and then review that, and then sign up for their watchdog service and these other scams. So if something like this happens with Facebook again, you'll be alerted and you'll know about it. Same thing with Zoom. So Zoom, even though it's become popular, I think they're working on their security issues and patching up some of the issues they've had in the past. But again, originally, when people started to use them a lot, information was being sold to a third party. In this case, it was sold to Facebook. They stopped doing that. There was also data, being redirected out of the country. Now, with Zoom, there's I think there's a focus they have on improving security. So they recently, actually, I think it's supposed to happen today. So if it didn't happen today, or maybe sometime this week, they are going to be sharing some updates around security for meetings and security on their platform to help. But that's just again, there are some of the other tools like Google Meet and like WebEx and others have been around for a really long time, and have been, so that they've been kind of tried and tested from a security standpoint for a while. Some of the newer platforms, it really depends how they're built, and some of the reasoning behind how they're building things, and different choices are made. And so it could be the case you may be using a bunch of things, but you just need to be aware of how your information is being used if you use a particular platform. And it's up to you to say, no, I will not do that. Or that's why it's important to be universal, because from an accessibility standpoint, you want to capture the audience so you can capture everyone, and not just someone who's only on Facebook or someone who's only on YouTube. You want to be able to capture everyone. So that's why if you have in your action plan the ability to broadcast to multiple platforms at the same time, you can do that in a really simple way with things like StreamYard. And for those of you, actually, let me just bring this up now for those of you who may not have seen this previously. I'm going to share my screen again. and just share you this with you the StreamYard setup. Oh, this is the wrong one. Hold on. Let's see. I'm going to this one. Okay. So let's just go here within StreamYard. So once you set up your account, you can set up a destination. So those of you who are using Facebook, you can broadcast to a Facebook page, a Facebook group, or an individual profile. You can do LinkedIn, even though LinkedIn is being used mostly like a professional community. More and more people are doing events actually on LinkedIn. I'm not aware of churches who are broadcasting service there, but at least I personally, with my LinkedIn account, have been invited to a lot of events, so it's becoming more popular. You have YouTube, so you can publish on the YouTube channel. Again, it could be the brand channel, and then Periscope. Again, people, I think Pastor Tyler Prude in his class mentioned Periscope may be a little challenging from a compliance standpoint because of your ability to moderate the chat isn't the same as it is for YouTube or some other options. So you have to use that with caution, but that's also available. Twitch, even though it's popular with the gaming community, there are some churches who are streaming there. If you really want to reach a younger audience or an audience you may not traditionally connect with, you can stream on Twitch, but then also be mindful of the potential downside because the gaming community and how they behave it can be a little different. So I would say for the most part, Facebook and YouTube tend to be the most common. In addition to the custom, I'm just going to click into this for custom. So with this, the system where you're using the OBS software, you can configure that server URL to publish directly to this destination in StreamYard. You can also use this for the configuration for Vimeo and the livestream.com. There are several other services where the configuration on StreamYard is just using this standard setup where whatever software you're using or website you're using for the video, when you schedule your live stream, it'll give you the URLs and stream and the keys for you to use. So what you can do is actually, when it's time to do a broadcast, so when I said, simulcast or broadcast, multiple places at the same time, this is specifically for live streaming, and you can also record and share later. That's a slightly different approach. But if you're live streaming, I could just click all the destinations I wanted to use. So this will let me, or I can customize my settings for each destination and say, okay, well, for YouTube, I'm going to schedule it for later. I want my privacy to be public or unlisted or private. And then for this, maybe I'm using Vimeo. It may just be, a different date. And again, the questions asked are just a little different for each platform. On this one, I don't schedule a date. It just goes to the stream directly. And then you create a broadcast. When you create a broadcast, it's saved. And then you can enter the broadcast studio. And when you enter the broadcast studio, I am turning off my camera. I'm just going to go on mute for this particular one just to show you what's there. But as the person setting up or creating the live stream, this could be one of your media people or maybe you, depending on what's happening. I go in here and then I can add myself to the stream. If I want to invite someone else, so those of you who get a chance to view the lecture from this morning, I sent an invitation, I sent a link in the chat, and Frank Dove joined using the link. And all this does is just lets you enter the broadcast studio the same way I just did there. And so with this unique link, it'll bring you into this event, and then I can just add or remove someone. So again, I can remove or add to the stream. So it'll just be another person coming in here. And then from here, I can share. So I can share a document or I can share a file. And then I can create banners. So here I have, I have a banner. This right now, this is a ticker for a scripture, or if I wanted to say this is the Easter service recap. Again, there are different things you can do just within StreamYard, but it doesn't require installing any software. So I use it because everything is cloud-based, and it's relatively inexpensive. There's a free version, but it has a logo on the side that says StreamYard, so you can pay a minimal amount to get that removed, and you can put your own. So this is probably one of the easiest ways to broadcast multiple places at the same time. And so you just need to, and again, you can do this on your phone or on a Chromebook or a laptop. Chromebooks are inexpensive, comparatively speaking, and are fairly secure. You don't have to worry about installing software. You can have a guest account or just have security there. Having things where you can do just on the Chromebook can be beneficial if everything you're using is actually cloud-based. And so you can use Google Slides. You can do other things there or different apps. I see there's a question. Let me just make sure. Oh, yes. Okay, thank you so much. And actually, in terms of the time that we've scheduled for this, I do need to wrap up. But I wanted to just at least address the question of what can you do to actually do a multicast screen. So if you currently have nothing set up for live streaming across YouTube and all these others, what is it that you have to do? So the simplest, again, with what we have available to leverage Google for Nonprofits, and then to also level some simple but yet useful resources like StreamYard. And then you're pretty much almost all the way there. If you have a conference calling number from Google Meet or from Zoom or WebEx or GoToMeeting, those are useful because you're able to tie together what you're doing in the presentation. And then some people use Zoom to broadcast directly to Facebook and or to YouTube. You also have some other options. I will send links to some of the training material for Zoom, so those of you who had questions about that will be able to get that information. And so just being mindful of the hour, I'm just going to pause here to see if there are any additional questions or things to follow up on. And also, I will see if, based on your feedback, I may record some additional on-demand content for you to view besides the main lecture and discussion group. And then I'm also going to send out links to some other recordings to get a better understanding of some other products. So that's what I'm planning to do. But I first want to pause to see if there are any questions or things we want to address today before we adjourn. And then if Pastor Harvey is able to close us out when we adjourn, that would be great. But I'm going to pause first to see if there are any additional questions. Yes, I see some raised hands.
Yes, this is Frank. I know you did it before, Corey, but the 1, 2, 3 process of doing that Google for Nonprofits. Can you?
Oh, yes.
That or something?
Yes. Awesome.
Something about doing get TechSoup verifies us and stuff like that. Just the 1, 2, 3 of that.
Yes, definitely. I'll share with you that information. 1 second here. So let me just share my screen again, just so you see the steps here. Okay. All right. So what we do is the TechSoup. You have eligibility requirements, and then we have TechSoup is actually handling some of that. So I'm going to click through the different pages just so you see what's there. So if you have a Gmail account, it makes this a little easier. Just because if you go to the Google for Nonprofits page with a Gmail account, you'll be logged in just to set up the nonprofits request management account. So that's not the same as what you'll be doing later on with like with Google Workspace and all the other products. It's just an initially easier way of getting that set up. So I'm going to click on the link here to share with you. Waiting for this to display on my screen here. Okay, so when you go to the nonprofits page for Google for Nonprofits, I can click on Get Started, and this will take me to the sign up page. Now, I'm not going to click through this. Actually, I will use a different account. Let me just use. Okay, I'm going to use this demo account that I have. I'm not going to click through everything, but just so you see what happens entering the next part of the setup. Okay. And so this is eligibility criteria. Where is it registered? United States. And then you have questions for eligibility. So I'm not clicking through everything here, but this is the main thing where you will gather information. So your EIN, your address, and the contact information. Once you click begin here, it's going to take you through a process that will click out into TechSoup, and then you'll wait for verification and the validation token from TechSoup. So step one, you go to the google.com/nonprofits, click get started. And if you have a Gmail account already, that's fine. Otherwise, you just sign up, and it'll take you through the process to sign up for the account. And the first thing you do is check. It's going to check for eligibility, and then I'm going to go to the TechSoup website. So the main thing to keep in mind is that a lot of churches, somewhere in the church history, somebody may have signed up for TechSoup. And so when you complete that eligibility workflow, one part of it will bring you to this website. And if you don't already have an account, you will join and sign up. And then you will, after you get your information here, you're going to get an eligibility token. Let's go to the help page. Not eligibility token. It's called a verification token. Validation token. That's why I'm going to the help page so I get the right name. And so what happens is when you sign up, you are going to get a validation token. And then when you do, just remember to pick the country up here, because otherwise it's going to default to another language. So pick the country for United States. And then again, the instructions will be in a different language. So I'm just telling you now to just pick United States. So then you see English. And then from there, you go through and log in. So if you're already a member, this is the piece where you need to verify. Now, right now, I'm logged in as another account, so I'm not going to go through this end to end. But what you do is just make sure you. I'm sorry, I'm going to share the screen one more time so you see the end result. Okay, so again, we went to this page. You go through, you request the account, you launch out into TechSoup, and then in TechSoup, you fill out some additional information with your employee, your EIN number, your address, etc. And then you wait for a little while. They'll come back with an email saying, yes, you're verified. And then you click the button to get a validation token. Then once you get that in the mail, then you come back to the Google Nonprofits login and log into your account. And then you provide that validation token, and then you can activate and use the products. So this is basically the main step in the process. And we also have some videos I'll share to just help walk you through that, because it can get a little confusing just because there's a third party. We have to rely on the third party to verify if an organization is eligible or not. And then once that the third party determines if you're eligible, then there has to be a shared, what they call like a shared secret or a token that they give you that you can give to us. And when you give it to us, we know that they're the ones who gave it to you, that you're a valid company or a church in this case, and you have the right to activate and use these products for free. So that's basically what happens. Then that's where it gets to be the part where you do the other setup for Google Workspace, or you set up your YouTube channel, or you set up the individual products, like how do you use the $10,000 a month that you get for the ads. So I think Pastor Harvey was mentioning, how do you you're currently planning, and how do you let people know that your church is there if they're searching for a church in the area, using that $10,000 for the ads. So you can say someone who's searching for a church in your local city, you can just put in a text ad that'll link to your church website or to your church live stream. And that's one way of advertising and letting people know that you're available. And so that's one of the things you get with with Google Ads. And then with Google Sites and these other resources, these are all there. So I'll share with you some of the training available for the rest of it. But I hope that answers the question. I just wanted to show that you have this, and I'll share with you the slides for the some of the instructions, or also I think I might just update the syllabus where you already, because that link is already publicly available. So I'll just have the links to all these resources on that document so you can access it. So I hope that answers the question. I know it's still a little complicated, but yeah. Okay. Yes. And now, does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, so seeing none, I know there were a couple other things I wanted to recap, but I think it was valuable to spend some time getting the debrief, because you all provided really good insights. And then you also gave me some examples of things I should add into some takeaway documentation. So I'm going to hand over now to the Pastor Harvey to see if you can. Actually, before we do that, so I see Jean Dodge. Did you have your hand raised? Was that from the example before, or did you want to say something as well?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was for something before.
That was for something before? Okay. All right, I thought so. I just want to double check. Okay. Thanks. Okay. All right, thanks. And so now we're going to pass over to Pastor Harvey to close us out.
Thank you, Sister Corey. We appreciate you and all the wealth of knowledge that you've shared with us, and help us to make our media and our technology better. So we're thankful. Let us close out in prayer. Father, we thank you. We thank you for all that we've heard, all that has been shared, all that we've seen, Father. Now we ask for your wisdom to allow us to put it all together, Father, that we could enhance our services for you, Lord. That we could reach others for you, Lord. So we ask that you would provide for us the wisdom, the insight, the provision that we need, Lord, to be able to do your perfect will. Father, we just ask that you bless each and every person, every home, every family that's represented, Lord. We thank you and we praise you, Lord. Continue to strengthen us. Continue to bless us and guide us. Keep us in your loving care. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much. And so based on some of your preferences and feedback. I'll let you know if it looks like it's beneficial to have another, like an extra session on the 12th. And otherwise, I'm going to make sure I go through all of the feedback you've given in the form and also emails. And I will probably record some additional demos or some other on-demand content. So by the end of this week, I will share some additional links and updates to the syllabus with some of the other content. So that way you'll have it available. And then any of you interested in having someone do an engagement with you to make sure you let me know. There's someone in the convention who's also so this is Professor Keisha Reynolds. She has a business where she does digital media consulting, and she also has other offerings and other companies where you can get additional training. Again, that's all at additional cost. So most of the resources I'll be sending on the email will be free resources. There's free training from Google for a lot of things, but in some cases, especially if your church has a certain budget already allocated for those types of things, it'll be useful to connect with someone who's affiliated with the convention versus, this is if you were already planning to hire someone, and already have like that type of budget allocation, then I would suggest Professor Reynolds, and she usually has a class, either a lunch and learn or a class during the Sunday School Publishing Board conference. So definitely take a look there. And then I will just remind people for this class, there will be no collection of any no love offering or anything like that for this class. So you paid your registration fee, and that's all that was necessary. I know it's sometimes with the conventions they do different types of things. Here for this class, that's not necessarily the case. If you are interested in giving, there's the Giveify link for the convention, and then also you can search for Salvation as a Lifestyle, because that was the AM radio show that was also mentioned here. But the Congress of Christian Education has a separate setup from a nonprofit standpoint on Giveify compared to just the convention. So if you're searching and you want to, and I believe on there should be a donate link actually when you go to the Giveify. When you go to the platform for a Brushfire, if you want to do something for the convention. But just wanted to make sure I address that. So in this class there would be nothing should be collected or received, or if anything comes my way, it's going to go to the convention or maybe returned. So just wanted to make sure we said that, because I know within the convention sometimes there are different things that may be done in different classes. So if you're taking other classes, I just wanted to make sure that was clear. So again, thanks a lot for participating, and feel free to connect. Again, I'll still be collecting information from the form. So if you go on the platform, feel free to fill out the ideas and feedback form. You can also send me an email. It's just that because of my work schedule during the day, it may take me a little longer to respond to emails sometimes, but I will be checking from an accountability standpoint. I'm trying to make sure everything that's in the feedback form I address directly. So,
are you going to be able? Are the classes still going to be able to be out there online so we can look at them or review them like you have now?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the classes are all going to be on demand. I think there was just one or two discussion groups where the way I was recording it may not have captured every single thing. So all the lectures would be there, and because that's actually the main content. And the discussion groups I was also making available. So I'll make those available, but in one case I accidentally muted myself on StreamYard and didn't realize it. So I went through the whole thing and I noticed that I was muted. So I'm going to try to see if I can go back through that to just try to overlay some explanations for a couple of things. And then the other, I had the audio, but it was pointing to the other page. So again, the discussion groups were something that we were capturing, but the main lecture will be on demand. So if you go, you'll see related links and you'll see all of the on-demand options available for this class. We've tagged it. If you don't see a lecture, so you should see something for every week up through week 5. So the on-demand lecture from this morning is available on the platform right now.
Okay.
What we just did for this discussion group, again, I'm going to process and make it available as well. But the lecture is really the main thing. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I missed this morning.
Oh yeah, no, that's not a problem. I mean, I also have, even though I'm not really using it too much, but I mean, I do have a YouTube channel where all this is available as well in terms of direct links. But you have access to see this all in the Brushfire platform. So
Right.
you've been granted access to that, and that's the central place to do it. Because even if I move something and I take it away from my let's say from my YouTube channel, I have the recording downloaded. I may put it someplace else, and it may still be made available through Brushfire. So for you, it may be transparent in terms of where it is. But yes. So you'll have everything. But I'll say at a minimum, all the lectures. You should be able to see every lecture, every morning lecture for week 1 all the way through week 5. That's available now. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good. Thank you so much.
Okay, sure, no problem. And if you have any issues getting access, like after April 12th, let me know. Because I think the DigiVersity event is this from a system standpoint. I think it concludes on the 12th, but you might still be able to log in afterwards. So just test it and see. I can clarify that, but just make sure you're able to still view the content. Nothing is being expired off the platform, so you should be able to still access the information.
Okay, because I started taking some of the Google classes that they had out of land online when you talked about them last time, and I just want to make sure I'm in the right classes.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
getting interested in them.
Oh, that's great. Yes, I'm so glad you're in the classes. Yes, and there's so many more that are actually there. So I'll be sure to add that as well, because we have a lot of classes and actually a lot of content. I didn't talk a lot about this, but the ability to have the church as a mechanism for people to learn more about technology and to have the links to some of the resources from Google, because there's a lot for people who are trying to retrain during this period.
Right.
There's some resources for people who might be maybe they had to drop out of college, or they're trying to get a job in a certain area. So there's some entry-level IT certificates available at a really high discount, or some might be available for free with scholarships. But you have some things that are designed for people to switch careers, and then other resources for people who may be again, this can be young or old, because people go into I've worked with people who were customers who went back to college after they had grown children, and they were working in technology afterwards. So I don't want to make it seem like it's only the people who are college age who are going to be doing things like computer programming and other things. There are people who were, they had kids, they went back to the school, they started doing other things later on, or you may have people who are former military. We have a program for veterans also, and military spouses to learn. So yeah, there are a lot of resources, and I especially like the free resources, of course. Mm-hmm. And the ones who can help people get to the next level of when it comes to employment, especially now when we're thinking about technology. So there are a lot of jobs were available before coronavirus. A lot of jobs became more popular during the pandemic, such as like food delivery and things like Uber and Lyft drivers and things like that. However, all of those things are, again, we have, self-driving cars, self-driving trucks. You have delivery robots and delivery drones. So those, the things people that, again, it might be something people are maybe earning a lot now, but it may not necessarily be something they can count on, for many years. So it's really good to make sure people have access to additional training, because being a truck driver can be, very good pay. But then if all of a sudden, Tesla has a lot of self-driving trucks doing the route that you were normally doing, you need an option to give you income that's on par with what you were already doing, maybe in a different field, or people who might have been, again, like toll collectors, where that was a union job, and then there's some automation where that goes away. So there's a lot of training to make sure people are able to adapt and get into new positions, whether or not you're retired military or you're someone who may have been displaced because of something happening with technology in particular, or it may just be maybe you just don't like your current job, you want to switch. There are a lot of different things that may happen, but there are a lot of resources for training. So I don't want to keep going on about it because we have so many programs for so many things, and I didn't talk about those extra programs actually. So I'm really glad you mentioned that. So now I'm going to make sure I add more links related to that, so more people can do basically what you did and start, signing up for the courses and start learning more there.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. But congratulations for signing up for the courses. Yeah, that's great. Anybody else who's doing that, let me know if you were signing up for the courses or trying to do Google for Nonprofits. Let me know. So if you need any assistance, or if you found it useful, that's good feedback. Or if it's not, if you have a class and you think it could be better, maybe there's another option, because we have so many courses through different avenues customized for different people. It may actually be a different link I need to give you that might be a bit more applicable to what you're doing. So,
okay.
Yes.
All righty.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. This has been a blessing to have all of you in the class. I'm so excited, and there's just so much more. Again, we would love to share. And so again, I will check with the dean's office to see if I can officially schedule it. Right now, I don't have anything officially scheduled for next week because this was scheduled to be the last week. But I believe we may have some flexibility for April 12th. So I'll check. You may get an email from me. Otherwise, feel free to reach out if you need anything. So again, thanks a lot, and have a blessed week. Yep.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. You're welcome.
Bye. Have a blessed week, everyone.
Bye.
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 Be blessed, everyone.
All right, you too. Bye. Okay, now I'm going to now end on StreamYard.